Like what batch did you graduate? All right. Good afternoon, Pratik. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking that. How are you?
I am great as well. So thank you for doing this webinar. For our audience here, Mr. Pratik Harsh has graduated from our, BBA LLB batch of 2018. And yes, Pratik, please go ahead with your introduction, please, if you'd like to take it forward.
Hi, my name is Pratik Harsh. I graduated from 2018 batch BALLB, and it's been pleasure to have such a great mentors in the college while my graduation days. And currently, I'm working as a IP professional. I'm working as a global contract analyst for brand content ask. In my personal capacity, I look after brands like Vogue magazines, Traveler, GQ, ED, Glamour, Vanity Fair, New Yorker, etc. I look after all the contracts which they have with celebrities, contributors, be it actor, directors, photographer, artists, models, etc. So it's my prime responsibility to negotiate contracts with them in terms of IP agreements. Apart from that, I also had a experience working as a managing partner with a boutique law firm named Virginia Solicitors and Associate. So it was a law firm which my wife currently, and few other friends and partners, we opened together in the year 2020, and now it's doing a great business. My wife has the law firm right now, and I am currently working corporate. Recently, I also got a chance to do a MBA in data and privacy management from Swiss School of Management, Italy. And data privacy being one of the, you can say, booming fields and the booming laws also currently in India. So I think so that was one of the greatest decision which I made choosing that field, because this is also helping a lot with my, you can say, corporate work in terms of media laws, etc. So this is
Yeah.
a brief introduction about me. Also, I wrote a book on IP laws recently, not recently, 3 years back in the year 2021. And book was named A Wisdom to Intellectual Property Laws. And it also became one of the top 5,000 books on Amazon for a week.
Pratik, just to get into the whole conversation itself, so this is a very different legal field that you've chosen. So, what was the moment that you realized that you want to be a lawyer in this kind of field, this kind of vibrant, this kind of fast paced media world that we see today? So, how was it like for you then?
So I think so. I got inspired by the electives which I chose. So most of the electives which I was having was based on IP only. Secondly, the internship which by chance I got was in Sai Krishna Associates. My mentor, my senior, the partner of Sai Krishna, Mr. Pushpam Kumar, he actually, you can say, guided me that this is one of the most unexplored field, and people generally tend to choose their job roles in normal corporate day-to-day in-house work, or rather they focus upon on getting into a good A-lister or B-lister law firm. But this was one of the very least explored field with a very, you can say, fast pace of growth in terms of CTC, also in terms of recognition and in terms of decision making, with a wide spectrum of global work you get in hand. And apart from that, as a child, I was also keen, or you can say inclined about the media entertainment. I think so. Everyone is inclined about this glamorous world, and when given a chance, I actually you can say wanted to explore. And I think so. It was a bit of luck also. I initially worked with Kalyan Jewelers. That was also, you can say, one of the roles related to media only. I worked as their legal consultant. I was looking after their IP works, jewelry design, etc. During my work with Kalyan Jewelers, I got to attend an event where I met with Mr. Bachchan and Nagarjuna and few other celebrities. It was an event organized in Hyderabad, Radisson, and actually that day I thought that okay, someday if given chance, I'll also do a contract for them. And by God's grace, somehow I got a contract. Not to work with Mr. Bachchan till yet, but when me and my wife started our law firm, I got a chance to work with Mr. Ankit Tiwari, Ajit Singh, with small music labels, and this is how the journey began.
That sounds very fascinating, Pratik. But could you let me know a little bit more about? I'm pretty sure you might have faced some challenges also, shifting from one law to the other, the one that you're doing right now. So, how is that for you? Could you list a few challenges and how you overcame them as well?
So I can tell you, so earlier when I was working, my work was mostly secure towards the Indian law and Indian ecosystem. But when I pivoted toward my works with Condé Nast, or when I was working as a legal manager for Geo also, so that time the whole platform was actually focused on the international contracts, bringing international artists, working on international agreement. And trust me, the international agreements are very cumbersome and very different from what we actually study and what we actually do in our day-to-day life. But I'll be very honest, while I was, you can say, studying in gender, and while I was having those electives, one of the best part with the genders curriculum was it was always focused on the, you can say, international approach. And I think so it was quite easy for me to grab those things because these were the things which was already taught to me in the electives. At that time, I always thought, oh, why they are teaching me international work? I always have to work in India only. Oh, what work? Like, what will this help me in future? But now, when I work with Condé Nast, I see that it has helped me to a very great level. Trust me, Condé Nast actually approached me for the job role. I didn't apply there also. So the, you can say, the name tag, the level of exposure, and the curriculums which I chose has helped me a lot. Obviously, when we talk about the pivot from domestic to international agreements, let's take an example. For example, let's take an US artist agreement. When we bring the US artist agreement to the Indian agreements, there are many factors which needs to be taken care of. Like we have to make the US artist agreement in coherence with the Indian legal culture and Indian ecosystem. We have to make it a bit of a language friendly so that the Indian artists or the Indian lawyers whom we are sitting with and whom we are negotiating, they are quite friendly with. Else, it would be very difficult for us to get on a standpoint where both the parties agree to sign the agreement. So, this is one of the biggest challenges which I face when working on a two different culture or two different ecosystem.
So, Pratik, just along those lines only, you talked about your time at Jindal as well. So, what is one advice you would give your college self now? So, what is not particularly, career wise or law wise, what something in general maybe?
Okay, so one advice which I'll give to everyone is to utilize Jinda's library. I never did that. I was quite, you can say, immature and not very smart to understand the level they had. Now, when I think, I sometimes get sad and think that, okay, if I would have done this that time, take advantages of your teacher. Teachers in general are very good. Trust me, I have done two colleges, one from general, one from international. When you study international, teachers don't give you time. They are not there to ask you, beta samajh mein nahi aa raha hai, to I'll explain you again. So this is something you get in general, which I did not utilize. Utilize the library, utilize the teachers, and secondly, utilize the connections. General gives you very good amount of connection. There's a great placement cell in terms of getting internships and all, which I did not utilize. So I think so. Everybody, when they enter general, they are at a level, or you can say, where they are extremely pampered. They have left their home just now. They don't know the reality. The same was thing with me also. And that time when you come out of the house, you're not very smart. I think so only few students are there who are very smart to understand what we are getting here in general and how to utilize that. And those who have done that, trust me, they are doing very great things in India. Also abroad. One of my very close friends, Sandeep Bhalotia, he's a very good inspiration for all of our batchmates. He always utilized the general's ecosystem, utilized teacher, utilized library. Currently, he is doing wonders in Dubai. So I think so. This is one of the advice I'd like to give every student. Do everything. You go out, have good food, travel, but utilize the library, utilize your teachers because this is something you won't get anywhere. And also pay attention on presentation. These presentations are gem of the things. Trust me, recent now also I use Upasna Ma'am's presentation when I have to do some client presentation regarding IP or trademark law. I am being very blunt honest about it. This is something you get a gem from general teachers.
So I think, yeah, so you talked about, you representing a couple of very well-known brands as well. So, namely, Vogue, GQ, and other Vanity Fair, etc. So, how is it like to, handle all these complex scenarios with these legendary brands? So, how did you do that? Could you delve a little more into that?
So, I'll tell you very honestly, what happens is that when we deal with the bigger brands like this, models or the parties who are, or the photographers who are actually on the other side of the table, they are actually the very big name in market. So when you sit on negotiations with them, they have a team, you can say, not only team, they have a, you can say, whole military of lawyers behind you, and you are just a single person sitting like a one man army over there and expecting, okay, let's try to close it. So that time you require a very deep amount of research, very deep amount of dedications when you are talking with them, when you are on a video call with them. Trust me, when you get on a video call of a with a SVP of a cine dance or a SVP of a, you can say, bigger production houses, so it is actually quite, you can say, overwhelming. You get tensed because that time you never know each and every is a and single words they can use against you during the negotiation. So for me, what I did is that I always try to follow the manuals. So every company has a list of company policy and manuals. So one of the most important thing to understand is that how company performs, what are the requirements edit teams want from the photographs, what are the types of rights edit team wants from the photograph, be it exclusivity, be it commissioned images, be it all rights, be it license. So once you understand the requirements of the company, then and there only you can negotiate with the bigger brands like this. But if you don't understand the complexities or the company policy, it is very difficult. See, negotiation is a task which is actually just like a spontaneous thing. You respond to it. But you can only respond to that with that speed or spontaneity with only if you have the knowledge about the company policy. So most important is that to be aware of the company policy and manuals. That has helped me a lot.
So, Pratik, to be honest, I mean, whatever you said right now, I think even my eyes are being opened at the moment. So this is actually very new to me as well. So, I mean, of course, you worked with a lot of, as I said before, you worked with a lot of other brands, and I'm pretty sure with artists and creators as well. So, what is one big mistake that they make when they are actually signing their rights to their work away to other people?
So, internationally, artists are very aware because of the different, you can say, level of education they have in their, you can say, board, that is international board or the school board. They are aware of their basic rights, IP laws. But in India, our education system is not very finely procured or established. So that supposedly, if a class 12 student or a recent BA girl is getting to become an influencer or a model, she is not even aware about what is IP rights, what are the rights she can secure. So most of the time, what happens is that they tend to end up signing work made for hire agreements. So what happens is that work made for hire agreement is just like they are actually hiring you to do a work, whereas in reality you are the creator of that work. So in all, you are actually giving your all rights of that content to the, you can say, production house or maybe brand or maybe Instagram platform, whatever, with whom you're working with. So this is one of the biggest mistakes which actually newcomers do in the market. They end up giving all their rights. They end up, you can say, signing off their moral rights. So this is something where they lose on a very, you can say, large scale. So this is the biggest mistake people are actually doing. And I personally, when I sit with many of the senior artists from the industry also, from Bollywood, I can tell you that still the culture is not very, you can say, very good right now. People still tend to work on the word of mouth, which is actually creating a lot of legal troubles and IP issue. So this is something bad, and people needs to uh, understand the importance of the paperwork when they are working with the, you can say, creative industry.
Hmm. So, how do you make sure that they are actually compensated fairly then? So, how do you work on that?
So actually, what happens is that when supposedly if I am representing a script writer, let's take an example, and he has written a story. So in a general case scenario, if X company, if a X big company signs a script writer, what he'll do is that he'll ask the script writer to sign off all his rights, give the rights of the script to the X production house, that is his production house, under the work made for hire agreement, which is very wrong. Even if I sell my all rights agreement, I would not waive off my moral rights. I'll ensure that my artist is not waiving off the moral rights. I'll ensure that, okay, if this is the X amount of the rate in the market or the current, you can say, what we say the circle rate for the land. Similarly, there is a particular fixed rate for the script writers and the artists. only based on their experience or the number of the movies. So I make sure that they are actually compensated based on their current market running rates. It's not like that they are doing the barter deal. They are not signing up their moral rights. I always try that the supposedly if my script writer is giving him a script to a ex-production house, he always have a right. He's not giving all the global rights to the production house, only giving a limited language in Hindi, right? Supposedly, if a production house is acquiring for multiple language rights, he's even you can say compensated for that extra rights. Supposedly, if a remake right is there, that even that they are you can say taking, he's also compensated for that. Supposedly, if there are dubbing right, he's also compensated for that. There are multiple rights which are actually involved within them, and I make sure that for each and every rights he is actually giving to the production house, an extra amount of you can say payment is credited to his account. So this is actually my you can say process to ensure that they are fairly compensated.
Right. So, I also wanted to delve a little bit into, the idea of virality that we have here on, social media. So, every day we see there are, people who are real scrollers. Me, myself, I'm on Instagram. I consume all that media. And I see on my daily feed that there are so many, reels that have gone viral, that have so many views on them. So, how do you take care of IP then?
See, supposedly one of the very first thing in this scenario, what we do is to start with a short form agreement. A short form agreement ensuring that at least we have an initiation of the recording of the timestamp uh, from where the video has been uploaded. That is recording of the timestamp, recording of the IP, that MAC address stamp, etc. So that it established that it has been uploaded by my client and he's the actual owner of the client. Supposedly, if his video is getting viral, few of the other channels or maybe platforms or maybe pages are also rerunning his or her video. So I make sure that when the video is rerun or when he's reused, he's getting compensated for that reuse because he's having the actual IP rights of the videos with the help of the IP agreement. Supposedly, if his video is getting viral on Instagram, on Instagram, there's an option you can flag if somebody is using your video without your permission. I work with Instagram to ensure that his video is not actually wrongly used. There's a fair usage of the video through the proper compensation channels, etc.
So, what about then AI then? I really want to do an AI question also here because that is one thing I think that has ingrained itself into every aspect of our lives now, even work-wise, even if you talk about personal lives as well. So I think AI has started becoming like a very very big part of our daily lives as well. So how do you take care of that? How do you take care of AI contracts?
See, earlier what happened is that when the contracts were made, the contracts didn't had the you can say clauses related to AI or maybe clauses related to likeness. So name, obviously there were clauses related that if somebody is using your name, you need to be compensated XYZ. But nowadays I make sure that the clauses related to name, likeness, identity, biometric footprint, digital footprint, etc. are incorporated in the contract so that if there is any particular scenario where you can say uh, his or her work is getting used in form of AI to make videos. Can you just give me a second? Somebody's on door. I'll just open the door if you don't mind.
Sure, sure, sure. Please do go.
Hi, Red. I'm extremely sorry.
No, no, that's all right. That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Should we continue?
Yes.
Right. You were telling us about the AI contract.
So, where I was, so I was telling that supposedly what I try to do is that I always try to incorporate the clauses which are related to AI in order to protect the digital thumbprint, be it likeness of the contributor or the actor actress, be it how their if their images are being used with the AI ads, if their faces are being used to create the videos, they are properly compensated as per that. These were something which were not the part of the earlier contracts which were actually happening in terms of the you can say hiring a contributor or a model. So there has been few scenarios and few incidents where artists have ended up signing their all rights and they were not aware that even they have waived off the usage of their face on the ads. So it happened with one of the very big names. I cannot tell you that, but he's one of the biggest name in the market. And from I think so that was the benchmark from where the India realized that with the coming of the art, you can say AI in the market, these clauses are very mandatory, and these are actually one of the new sources of the you can say income for all the contributors and the models. If you have seen the recent web series on Geo Hotstar, Mahabharat web series has been launched and it's India's first AI web series where only name and likeness and images of the person have been used to process a video, and it's a animated kind of a semi-animated series, and actors have not acted in that. They have just given their face right to use their face. So, and they are getting compensated on a very good basis. So this is something new in the market where you can even your face value and even your computer generated images also having you can say remunerations for you.
So, Pratik, I want to delve a little bit into since you already said you have been working with various of the brands and AI contracts as well as you talked about before. How about data privacy then? So, as an example, everyone heard that Meta will start reading your DMs on Instagram from 16th of December and whatnot. What is your opinion on all this? How do we actually, as citizens and actually consumers of media, how do we actually save ourselves from this kind of breach?
See, today is a very great day in the Indian history. The rules of the DPDP Act has just, you can say, 2 hours back revealed, and coming up with these rules in the industry. I think so. These, you can say, the breach of privacy, which is currently happening without the consent of the users, would not take place. It would take place only in the emergency scenarios where the government agencies like security agencies or defense agencies have right to do that, and only upon the special conditions they would be allowed to do that. In general scenario, they won't be able to do that. Also, when we talk about the data privacy in the current industry, so be it media, be it e-commerce, all the companies or the brands who are handling the consumer sensitive data, they need to have the consent of the consumer to on how the consumer needs to be contacted, how consumer wants their data to be handled, what are the level the permissions consumers are giving to the brands or the companies to use their data. So with coming out of these new rules in the India, I think so scenarios are going to change a lot. Government has given an 18 months of timeline today for all the companies and brand to get compliant with the rules and the act which was launched in the August 2023, I guess. 2023, yes. The DPDP Act. So I think so this will bring a great change in India right now.
Right. So, how do you take care of that in your contracts also professionally? When you work with your clients generally.
So earlier, Indian contracts didn't had a specific clause related to data privacy. There were generic clauses for confidentiality and usage of data, but not a addendum which is only specific to data and privacy. Currently, we attach a data privacy addendum to all the contracts which we are currently performing, depending upon the jurisdiction in which the contract is being performed. Supposedly, the contract is being performed in Europe. If I try to attach GDPR, if the contract is being performed in Europe, California, Canada, and multiple locations. Depending upon the areas in the location, I try to incorporate all their laws and I try to draft the data privacy addendum accordingly as per them, which actually states how the data is used, what is the definition of the consent, how what will happen if there is a data breach, who is having the owners to who is the processor of the data, who is the collector of the data, etc. So all these things are actually incorporated in the agreement so that there's a proper transparency and person who is actually giving the data is actually the owner and equal control of it.
Pratik, I also wanted to ask you, do these things that you do professionally, that you indulge in professionally as well, do they somehow, in some way or the other, challenge your professional, ethical way that you perform your duties as well, or your role? So how is that going for you?
So I think so. It's not professionally challenging. So every time you have to choose a particular side of a table or particular side of a coin where you sit with or where what you choose with in terms of head flip tables. So I don't think so. It's challenging. Sometimes you're on the right side of the table and sometimes you're on the defensive side of the table. So being a lawyer, this is something you are trained with from your very first step. So it is something you have to do. You have to always protect your client. You have to think always best for your clients. I know sometimes it happens that when we negotiate and when we do, being a lawyer, we have done sometimes that we actually are so, you can say, harsh in our negotiations and so strict in our negotiation that maybe the person sitting on the other side of the table is actually compromised and ends up giving more than he's supposed to give. But this is something which is our job role, and this is something what we have been taught to do. So it's always client centric. In our language, we always say PDFs don't negotiate. The negotiation is actually done by the person. So this is always which I have been taught since my first year. I remember my seniors, my teachers, they always used to say that okay, morality should always be there in the job. But if we only think about looking towards the morality, then in reality the culprits wouldn't have a lawyers to represent them. So this is also a we can say darker side of the law, but this is what it is.
Mm. You gain some, you lose some then. Just shifting a little bit from what we are talking about right now. What is one thing you would tell all these young professionals or young artists and creators who want to build their own business or build their own content online? What would be some of the advice that you've learned over time that you would want to give to them?
Never delay your paperwork. The very first thing which you should start with is getting your legal compliances fulfilled. Most of the people in the India, most I would say 95% of the people in India, they tend to invest a lot of money on marketing, lot of money on hiring, etc. But when it comes to compliances or the legal work, they are like that, okay, we'll do it now when we'll get the notice. जब कोई सामने से कॉल आएगा कहीं पेपर जमा करना पड़ेगा and this is actually what happens is that when they get a notice they are at a such a bad level that a thing which could have been handled on 100 rupees they end up spending thousands 10,000 rupees on that. So this is something which I tell everyone. If you are a startup owner, please get your founders agreement done, get your trademarks registered, uh, have a proper set of posh policies in your company, have a proper set of employment agreements, have a proper employment policy, leave policy, basic structure, have a proper HR manual, etc. These are the very basics and the very, you can say, roots of every company. Supposedly, if you are an influencer, I tell every influencer to, if you're working with a brand as a model, get your contracts vetted by a proper lawyer. Don't use Gemini to vet your contract. Gemini is just an AI which is learning from thousands of the lawyers who are actually posting their articles. It's learning from them. And you don't know the credibility of those lawyers who are having the articles in the online market, whether they are actually capable of writing or they have copied from somewhere or plagiarized. So always take help of a physical person. Okay, use Gemini to learn, to understand, to decode law, but don't use Gemini as a consultant. So this is something Gemini, ChatGPT. I don't have any personal grievance against Google. Any kind of AI, don't use them to create contracts or get consultation. Always get help of the proper lawyers because they are the someone who will actually protect your humanity and integrity also. AI won't do that.
So, Pratik, you have written your own book also. So, how was that for you? Congratulations first. But so, I just want to delve a little more into the book itself. So, you've written on IP laws, right?
Yes.
And how was that for you as a legal professional? Because I know the kind of complexities that lawyers have to deal with in their own documentation. So, how was it writing for the general audience and the layman, as they say?
So I think so. That was one of the most challenging part to keep the language understandable because when you are in practice of law, you tend up using very complicated words, legal synonyms, and you write also in a very different way, which is actually very difficult for a normal person to understand. When you are actually a lawyer, you don't write everything; you draft everything. What we say. So this is actually very challenging when you want to get those complex things in a very simple language so that even a you can say a class 12 student who is actually opening a tire shop can just read my book and understand karna kya hai. So this is something. And actually one I'd like to add one more point that the notes which I made in college. So I had a very good thing that whatever notes I used to make in computer, I had a proper Drive subscription, which I'm having till right now from very first year to fifth year. Notes of every subject, each and notes from each and every teachers, each and every exam. So I had all those compiled. And when I was writing the book, so I used to open those notes and take example of the case laws from there. So that was very helpful for me because a note with notes which is written for a student is one of the you can say simplest language which a teacher writes so that his or her student can understand, and those were the reference point which I used to write my book.
So, I mean, this is actually wonderful. I mean, to be honest, I know I've said this before, but whatever you've said right now, Pratik, I mean, it has actually opened my eyes also. So, I think becoming an influencer is not very, very easy also. So, I actually wanted to. So, what are the three non-legal skills that you would recommend for these young professionals to have to thrive in the kind of law that you are in right now?
Have a good knowledge about tech because when you work with media field there is a lot of tech involved. That you should definitely understand that what is the type of tech which is involved in that, what are the different operators, what are the different tools which are actually involved in the market. Because when you draft the agreement, if you are aware about the tools, you know what is the layer of the protection you have to indulge in your agreement in order to make it more robust. Second is that if you're planning to enter the field of media and entertainment, specifically movies, I would suggest that understand how movies are made internally because you can draft the contracts only and only when you know what are the different steps which are actually involved in making of a movie, like pre-production, post-production, getting a budget, signing of budget, what happens at what point, what all paperworks are involved. So what every task which an actor or a producer performs is actually what his performance is written on a piece of paper in form of contract. So one until and unless you understand what are the different activities which different persons are performing in the process of movie making, TV series making, or be it anything, you won't be able to draft a proper contract. So for me personally, I was quite lucky. I had few friends from media industry. I had always been exposed to this environment. I had been part of you can say visiting sets. And my one of my very good childhood friends, Mr. Abhinav, he was in the movie industry, and he taught me a lot how movies were made. What are the different actors? In spite of actors, there are more than 100, crew members and 150 agreements are involved. Different, you won't believe there are terms like gaffer. Gaffer is basically a kind of an electrician like person. Many small persons are actually involved, and there are different tasks involved within. You as a person, if somebody, a new producer comes to you and you don't know what all agreements has to be made for what all person. At the time of selling the movie, if those agreements are not in place, the producer won't be able to sell the movie to a particular XYZ channel. So this is something your responsibility to understand what happens in movie making internally more and more deeper than even a producer. So this is something I tell everyone to understand. And also third thing, please so this is something I also regret I did not focus upon when I was in college, is to have a understanding of how to gain financial stability and how to understand the finance, understand stock market, mutual funds, etc. So because this is something which will help you a lot when you are working as an individual practitioner. Because as an individual practice, see, I work for a company, so I got my salaries on a first to first basis. Every first I get my salary credited. But for individual practitioner, there's a cap in the time of payment, sometimes 60 days, 90 days. So if you have a proper planning of finances, it will be quite easy for you to go ahead.
So, Pratik, as we come to the end of our session here, is there any thing that you would like to say to wrap up the whole session, or anything on the topic, that any final piece of advice, any final piece of thought you would like to add on to the whole session itself?
I request every student who is having an interest in IP to explore this field. I I'm not denying that IP litigation is a bad field or XYZ, but this is also one of the very least explored field. This is a quite good field which will give you a very good exposure, fast growth because currently it is having a very less competition, and there is a lot of new things to learn, and it's also very glamorous. You end up getting part of good Bollywood parties, Hollywood parties, events, etc. So it's quite entertaining. The work is quite entertaining with fun. So I would actually suggest all these students to do explore this field of law. If anybody wants to connect, I will be very happy to help them to create a path where they can actually follow my guidance to enter into this field, and we'll be very happy to do that.
Yes, yes, definitely, Pratik. I think your session was really, really enlightening. So I hope people do reach out to you, and there are more and more, young legal professionals interested in this kind of law and this kind of practice. So I think we need more of lawyers in this field now that we have like a whole virtual reality where we live in. So, thank you so much, Pratik. Thank you so much for doing this. And hopefully, I'll see you again if you ever want to do another phase of this. So, yeah,
The pleasure
thank you
is
so much.
Thank you, Rahid. Thank you for giving me chance. Have a great day.
You too. Have a great day. Bye bye.